Yeah, so I'll just give you a brief about the story that I'm working on. It's a two-part video story. It's a very simple explainer on why WTE plants in India is not working. That will be the first part. What are the problems with the waste that we are handling? What are the problems with the norms and the functioning of the WTE plants that are in India, Indian cities? And the second part will focus on the alternate solutions, the sustainable solutions instead of burning our garbages. So I would like to talk to you to understand a couple of things for the second part. So when we talk about alternatives to WTE plants and sustainable waste management solutions, I just wanted to understand your work by Zero Waste Himalayas. So first, give me a brief about your work and some of your initiatives.
So we belong to a platform called Zero Waste Himalaya. It's an alliance, a platform which is really promoting zero waste practices as real solution with a specific focus on mountains, especially the Himalaya, because while the entire country and the world is facing a waste crisis, there are specific issues in the mountains that have to be addressed with sensitivity and resources, and that's what we do. We look at individual action as important, but collectively we have to come together and address waste at a systemic level and a complete life cycle perspective. So that's what we do.
Okay. And what are some of the specific actions that you've taken, and how has the outcome been? How has the impact of your actions been?
So most of the members of the alliance or the platform have been working at community levels promoting zero waste from Ladakh to Sikkim to Arunachal to Darjeeling in different areas as such. But as a collective, we have been really focusing on peer education and building a set of zero waste practitioners who become champions at the community level, and that we've done over a long period of time, and they have become people addressing the waste crisis in the Himalaya in different regions. But the biggest thing that we do has been since 2018 is the Himalayan cleanup, which is a cleanup that includes waste and brand audit. So we look at waste audit as a way of addressing specificities that allow us to get evidence to fine tune our management systems. To recognize the change in the volume as well as the type of waste. And the brand audit specifically audits the big plastic polluters of the Himalaya, because most of the plastic polluters send their plastic products but don't take responsibility. So there are two aspects of it. While we take the Himalayan cleanup forward, it is also a self-reflective process where the practitioners or the participants reflect on their waste footprint and then switch to sustainable products, and then look at the third objective of demanding better systems, better practices, and importantly, better products and producer responsibility. And then that happens at the end of May, and then we follow it up with the Plastic Freedom Challenge, which is the week of the Independence Day, where we call upon people to really practice a week with the hope that they will take it forward. So I think that's the big ones.
So coming out of the Himalayan cleanup only, one of the things that we've been trying to look at is to look at the extended producer responsibility framework and to really say that it is not working for our mountains. So the reason why we do the brand audit is that we are able to throw some light on how EPR for the mountains needs to be looked at in a different way. Not that we've managed to get a lot of traction on it, but that's something that we've been raising our voices, for since the last 8 years. I mean, since 2018, since we started the Himalayan cleanup. So the EPR framework and trying to see how mountain specificities can be included, into the policy is something that we've been working for. At That's at the national level. At the state level, in Sikkim specifically, we've looked at the whole bottled water ban. So starting from community level, where we were able to show with other partners that banning of plastic packaged water works at a community level. So that was, was a good demonstration for the government then to go ahead with a ban on plastic water bottles, a couple of years back. And anything below 2 liters is now banned in Sikkim. That was one. And then we'd also work towards looking at styrofoam ban. This is also specifically for Sikkim, where styrofoam, at least in eateries, that styrofoam should not be used for food. By restaurants or any other, cafe or anything. So that also in 2016, the government put out a notification banning use of styrofoam in such, especially for eating. So those are two things I think that we've sort of that's very specific to Sikkim, though. Though other groups also, of course, have been trying across the mountain states to look at strengthening the, plastic bag ban, etc. These are, I think, two things where we've had some measure of success. Yeah.
Great. Also, when we talk about zero waste and sustainable waste management, EPR is a very significant part of it, considering how the circularity should be maintained in order to process and manage our waste sustainably. So, how do you go about it? What are some of the steps that you've taken to ensure like producer responsibility? And especially, it is very challenging to have the producers accountable in, and also the EPR policies and laws in our country is not very strict and it's not implemented in a very strict way. So how do you go about it?
So the Himalayan cleanup report becomes the basis of it because it identifies the top polluters, plastic polluters. So we've been sharing the report with our elected leaders, elected representatives. We then share the report to the MOFCC, CPCB, SPCB, Swachh Bharat leaders, all that, and also we use social media to tag the top 20 polluters. They also have become part of the global brand audit as such. So those are kind of some of the work we've been doing. And also we've been doing return to sender, return to the polluters campaign and all that. But having said that, we haven't gained that much success because I think fundamentally EPR is just beginning and it is challenged in the design itself. And so yeah, so but we also know that it is a long run, And so in the comments also we keep sending mountain specific insights to the EPR policy. But irrespective of the EPR policy, other policies also we do that, So that's pretty much what we've been doing. That is at a national level, but at a local level, one of our strongest things with the Himalayan cleanup has been the intersect of ultra processed food, packaged food, and waste. A lot of our cleanup sites are very significant socio-ecological sites, and over 80% of them tend to come from food and beverage packaging. So we've been really talking about local food and promoting local unpackaged food that becomes real circularity and not greenwashing. And then also bringing in the segment of how plastic waste intersects with food and nutrition, well-being, as well as biodiversity, because sometimes waste tends to be looked at only as a waste management issue, but our cleanup data really shows that. So that's pretty much, I think, some of the key elements of our work. We do definitely also have specific interventions on promoting sustainable menstrual health products as such also. Yeah, yeah. Priya, over to you.
Legislators meet. You wanted to mention that for the EPR?
What you had?
Yeah. So one of the things which Roshan mentioned is, around EPR is the awareness itself is so low, even among the elected, because it's recent, and also, I mean, the mountain states in any case are very sometimes very far removed. So one of the things we've been trying to do around EPR is, with the Himalayan cleanup data, to present it then to the legislators from the mountain states. So we did one in Darjeeling, and this was in partnership with another organization called as the Integrated Mountain Initiative, which is also a platform, bringing together the mountain states. And So legislators, bringing them together, presenting them the brand audit, showing them who the top polluters of the mountains are, then trying to you know, also look at what the EPR is saying and how it is not working for the mountains. So that level of work also. So, we've done maybe like three of these legislators meet, just to show them, what the brand audit is showing, how EPR should actually be working for the mountains, but it is not, so that they are also able to kind of look at it from their perspective, and because they are the ones who could actually really look at policy making and take a stand. So more from an awareness generation, but also from asking them to take action. So these sorts of legislators meet also we've tried, we've done in partnership with the Integrated Mountain Initiative. So, besides that, at a more practice level, and looking at hands-on waste management solutions, we've really pushed for decentralized waste management practices. That for the mountains, centralized solutions really do not work, because mountains have their own specific challenges of, remoteness, connectivity, collection is always an issue. Vehicles will not be able to go everywhere. So keeping waste management as decentralized as possible, as close to the source as possible. These are some of the policy advocacy that we've been working at, and in a couple of places also sort of tried to do very small pilots, again in partnership with other organizations, not as Zero Waste Himalaya directly. But using, some of the ideas, some of the principles of zero waste through other partners, we've managed to do showcase like how decentralized waste management works, so that the burden, that the centralized landfills are facing, that can be reduced.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask more about decentralized waste management and how do you ensure that waste management in mountains is decentralized. And also when we talk about EPR and recycling the plastic or waste produced by the manufacturers, how do you ensure, is there a increase in number of recycling facilities in the places that you're working in, or how do you ensure decentralization? What are some of the activities that has been done? And can you add any examples or give any numbers of tangible impact that been noticed?
In terms of recycling facilities, where we are, I am in Gangtok, Roshan sits in Darjeeling. There are no recycling facilities. And that's something we also do not really advocate for, because then our volumes actually would just not be enough. So what we focus on then is resource recovery, really efficient recovery of recyclables, and then transported down, to the nearest recycling facilities. And for both Sikkim and Darjeeling, that would be this place called as Siliguri, where there are a lot of recyclers available there. So in terms of how we approach the decentralized waste management is that we need to have systems in place where we do really efficient recovery of resources, and then just when we have enough volume, transport it down to where the recyclers are. So basically that has been our approach. So to answer whether there has been any increase in recycling facilities, where we are, there are none, and it would also not be feasible for the mountains to have any recycling facilities, because the volumes are just not enough. Roshan?
Just to add on to that is that we also want to break the narrative of recycling as a full-on solution as such, because more and more the Himalayan cleanup data shows that the plastic that is coming out is like 70 to 80% non-recyclable, and then within the food and beverage plastic packaging, it's 80% plus, which is non-recyclable. But also the specificities of the mountains is that even with recyclable plastic like PET, it is still all spread across the mountains because the issue of connectivity and volume is there. So one is we kind of try to break the myth that we can recycle ourselves out of the plastic waste crisis. And secondly, even with recyclables, the issue of the mountains is collectivity, collection, and transporting. It just doesn't make possible, financial sense to kind of transport it all the way down to the plains. So both the collection and the thing. So I think that's also an additional nuanced layer that we've been trying to talk about, because I think sometimes people who have access to recycling think that it is, so that's there. But also, in addition, the other aspect of decentralization is also we want to really push for the notion that plastic waste is not just a urban phenomenon, it is a rural phenomenon, as well as in the mountains, because it is such a complex space, it is equally a transboundary issue also, so yeah, so we've been kind of looking at that.
Okay. And I also wanted to understand more about the challenges that the mountain regions face in waste management. I've been working with like, some three, four stories regarding waste for the past 2, 3 months, and one thing that was very simple, but was like something I thought, it is very simple, but I never realized that is even composting of wet waste becomes a bit harder in mountain regions given the climate and the temperature there. What are some of the challenges in waste processing, waste management in that the mountain cities face?
So, so one of the constraints which I mentioned a little earlier is definitely of connectivity issues, And as Roshan mentioned, our villages also are. So if you look at the rural landscape, villages are very scattered, So then just collection of waste itself is a challenge. And now even in the urban spaces, if you see, there is no vehicular access in many parts. So a lot of it then would have to be done manually, So and then the terrain also then becomes it's a challenge then, So if you look at then Gangtok, what has happened is they have a centralized landfill, and it was meant to, in 2018 they constructed a new one. It was supposed to be a very scientific sort of a landfill, supposed to bring only the residual waste, supposed to be catering only to the residual waste. But since the upstream did not really work, there was no segregation at source, they were not able to do recover any of the resources, everything was dumped there. It has now filled up in about 6 years time. Something that was meant to last for 20 years, it has filled up in 6 years time, and now there is no space, because that is the other challenge mountain faces, is that we have absolutely no spaces to make any more landfills. And this is also very close to a riverside, which is by itself against the going against the law, which says that landfill should not be next to any water bodies. Um, so having said that, now they are trying to now, do a bioremediation process of the landfill, trying to recover and trying to compost all the mixed waste. I don't know how that's going to work, but that again brings us back to, they've tried to recover as much recyclables as possible now from the mixed waste, but they're ending up with such a lot of non-recyclable residual waste, and which they are supposed to transfer to a cement, to the nearest cement kiln, which is like some in Assam or somewhere, which is going to cost them a lot of money. So now transporting just the residual waste also, even if they want to follow the guidelines, the SBM guidelines, which says all residual waste put it into a cement kiln, even that is not going to work for mountain states, because the issue of the cost for transport is just so high, So the other challenge then is, where would ULBs get that additional resource from? Because it is not, it's not considered in any of the guidelines that mountain states should get additional resource, to look at their waste management, looking at specifically their challenges. So Abhi, the ULB is now facing a huge challenge, And which is why now they're looking to install a WTE, thinking that it's going to solve all their problem of transport. Uh, the only solution that they now see is that we will install a WTE and we will burn all the residual waste. So that is where things are at right now. Yeah, Roshan, you want to?
Yeah, so I think besides all those issues, like I think there is also the issue of knowledge. Like people just the policy just expects people in the mountains to know, about it, and also the push is for technology without enough soft skill development and institutional processes embedded in it, right? And then even within the technology, most of them are designed for the plains, so it just does not work. For example, like you say, composting, right? I mean, it can be done. It is possible, but then the back end work of segregation, the promotion of segregation is still not thought through, or like the material that is used for composters are not thought through. So I think those are also issues, but I think fundamentally, like Priya has mentioned, I think just to add on is that the resource allocation is one is based upon population, and we in the mountains we can never compete with the population dynamics in terms of resource allocation, and that is a huge problem. And then that becomes even magnified when you go to rural areas, and so I think that is a huge problem. But having said that, it is not just about finances and technology. It is also about the investment that is required to build people's capacities, institutional processes, which I don't think has been really looked at, and so there is always then a technocratic false solution like WTE, or a electric composter, or like a conveyor belt that is promoted and proposed, and that doesn't solve the problem as such. I mean, we're not even touching the production aspect, right? We're just looking at the institutional process.
Yeah, yeah. And
So I think the other aspect in the mountains, which we are seeing more and more, is that mountains have become great tourist destinations. And then we also, because we have a lot of international boundaries, we also have security installations as such, and they also produce waste. And invariably, tourist locations and security locations are higher altitude or remote locations that generate waste, and so somewhere down the line, both these important aspects also needs to be institutionalized in the waste management scenario as such.
got it, understood. And can you explain a bit more in detail about your recent works, that is the cleanup drive and also the audit brand audits that have done? What are the results and how could it help promote EPR?
Well, let me take a dig at that first. So if you look at the national narrative, waste was never an issue that was talked about in the mountains. So when we kind of first talked about plastic waste in 2018, when India was the global host and beat plastic pollution was the theme, it kind of really foregrounded plastic waste crisis in the mountains and the intersects of biodiversity, agriculture, and then we did not know too much about the health part of it, but now even health. So I think the Himalayan cleanup has one brought in like over 60,000 people since 2018 who volunteer and choose a site and really reflect upon the waste that is generated, and then also allowed certain specific changes to be made. For example, lot of the micro religious sites have tried to look at reducing their plastic footprint, because a lot of the offerings was either packaged food or synthetic offerings as such, and they've tried to move away from packaging food that offerings that are made out of plastic. But for EPR, I think one of the like I said, the data that has been generated and the foregrounding of the issue has been really critical because now, I mean, like invariably, I mean, not that it is changed, but at least now people are very aware that EPR cannot have geographical neutrality as of now. You know, the brand agnosticism is something else to discuss, but it can, the only way for EPR to go forward is to have specificities that really recognize geographical vulnerabilities and challenges. And it's not just mountains, it's the same for coastal areas, you know. So I think the Himalayan cleanup with the waste and brand audit, and we really constantly say that a cleanup is a good place to start and not but a bad place to end, you know. But at the same time, we also look at the cleanup as a process of reflection, switching to zero waste lifestyles and demanding. We really say we cannot clean up the legacy waste in one day, you know. So I think that's where we're at, you know, and we are hopeful. It hasn't changed, but we do recognize that people across actually, like, you know, in the waste management circles now recognize that there must be contextual nuances within the policy as such. We are really hopeful that we kind of see it manifest. So that's where we're at, like, you know. So it's not successful in terms of impact, in terms of changes as such, but at least that acknowledgement is there, you know. So yeah, Priya.
So, I mean, not specific to EPR, but wherever, in various states, various sites that organizations have come together to clean up, it has led to, like at least at a state or a local body level, uh, policy changes, in terms of how they look at single-use plastic reduction. It could be a bylaw around, banning certain items or strengthening bans that were already in place. So at a very local level, we've seen multiple, examples where groups doing the cleanup have been able to influence, their bodies. And even if we go lower than that, then even at educational institution levels, where students have been part of the cleanup, and how schools then have started looking at the whole junk food thing, restricting junk food within school premises, looking at plastic use within school premises. So those, I think, are the smaller level wins that we've sort of seen across the years. Though, of course, the bigger goal with which the Himalayan cleanup was institutionalized, that is still yet to materialize, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, and this would be my last question. As you worked in a very challenging geographical environment, uh, can you list down some of the sustainable alternatives for WT plants? How exactly should sustainable waste management be implemented? What are the main course of action for that?
Uh, I mean, I don't think it's dramatically different from how the waste management scenario should be, right? So it has to start off with something that we haven't really seen, like fruition in the mountains, is like actually people really going in for segregation at source, you know. I think that's one, everyone. Then the second one is actually bulk users taking responsibility, which includes the tourism sector, the religious sector, as well as the defense sector as such. I think that's there. And then the other one, which we really think is really powerful, which we should not even think towards waste to energy, is that, like, we manage our biodegradables, you know, whether be it composting, whether be it biomethanation. And also, I think equally for us, there are possibilities of using it as animal feed. And then I guess lastly, it is just we are blessed with still a very powerful local food markets, agrobiodiversity, and agricultural, what do you say, food cultures in the mountains to really push for those, you know. Yeah. And Priya, over to you.
I think you've mentioned it all. Just one point, I think, from the case study that Gangtok itself is now faced with, is this challenge of the transportation cost being high. So specifically for mountain states, unless there is resource allocation, that supports them in this, extremely difficult thing that they're faced with. It would that suddenly they don't know what to do with their residuals. So it could come through producer responsibility, it could come through other sources, but there has to be thinking in that direction that for mountain states, transportation costs are going to be huge and they have to be compensated for that, So that's something I think the government really needs to focus on.
And apart from mountain states and other states, it could be a bit easier to implement zero waste solutions. And how could that be done?
It's actually simple, right? It's not rocket science. But I think for us, I think from our experience being part of the India Zero Waste Alliance, as well as being part of Gaia and Break Free from Plastic movements and such, I think there needs to be a narrative change. And I know, like you asked for a simple solution, but unless and until we don't look at the entire life cycle aspect of it, I don't think it happened. And I think the emphasis is always the materiality of waste and not the knowledge aspect of it. And I think we have to really push for that. So I mean, it's not that people are not interested. Like everywhere you see, there are now cleanups being done. It's that tiny switch that is needed to to use cleanup as a stepping stone only. And I think the other side of it is to recognize the hard work that waste workers and waste pickers do. And I think as a community, as a nation, and as a society, I don't think we give them their due credit as such. So I think that's more rambling, but I don't think I have anything else to say. Priya?
I think there are many examples where zero waste has been made possible. It might be at a very small community level, and it might not be like 100% zero waste, but the how do you say, the movement is there, to move towards it, and the answers are there. We've lived those in our past, so I think some of the answers are already there. But as Roshan mentioned, this whole how production from right from the production level, the things are going haywire. That suddenly we are left to manage the unmanageable. So, and that is what we keep seeing time and again, that even if you have the most efficient systems in place, you would still be left over with so much that is just not manageable. So some of those things, of course, I mean, that might be very long term, and uh, sometimes it even sounds impossible to tackle the companies, but I guess we need to keep raising our voices, that problematic plastics and problematic products must be designed away. Otherwise, even if you have the best of systems in place, you would still not be able to manage, what is designed, uh, that what is unmanageable. So yeah, just those two things. I don't know whether I answered your question or not.
You did absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to understand from you. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. And we can send you the link to the
Sure,
2024
definitely.
report. So,
Definitely, yes,
so it's
please.
in the website, at least, like you have the entire report in your hand
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
where
that
we
would be
name the
very
top
useful.
20 polluters. Yep.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
See you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks for reaching
Thank
out.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.